have something called the Cowboy Burger too. It just doesn't have the pulled pork on it.
See, I think the pulled pork is what really drags that entire thing to the next level.
It's
Eli, go take your shit.
I am taking my shit.
Right now. What the fuck?
Eli,
here, bro.
Eli, the recording has started, just so you're aware.
Yeah, good.
Eli's shitting himself while we talk.
Alright, I'm gonna go grab some water real quick and let this happen.
Eli, if I hear plopping noises, I'm out.
Sir, it's already done. I'm in the cleanup phase right now.
All right. Gem is fully out.
Live update from Eli's toilet. Man, this sucks.
How bad she stank?
Not too bad actually.
You know, we'll take it. That's something, I suppose.
I take back what I said. I'm sitting in on this episode just to hear Eli rip ass on recording.
Hey, it's already done.
Oh, fuck, I missed it.
I should use microphone for the beeps.
Jonah,
I'm pretty sure my microphone has nice noise blocking, so you can't really hear that.
Jonah just made the fucking noise from that stupid meme.
What?
No, the.
I don't know.
Oh my god! All right, I'll see if I can find one because it's always one of those things where it's like, oh my god, listen to this noise, and then just.
I swear to you.
Interesting description.
Baffle me.
Yes.
He's an enigma. So we want to at Gem to tell him that I'm good. I'm done now.
Let's see.
Nah.
The inner confines of my mind are an enigma.
Here,
We'll
I'll
just
add him.
no. We're just gonna start without him.
But he's the host.
Yeah,
How can we
it'll be
start with
funny,
the
but-
host?
No,
I think it'd be funny if I introduced the podcast for him.
actually, we can all do it. And so, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome to the cabin chat.
Welcome to the cabin chat.
Welcome to the cabin chat.
Yeah.
Are you done?
Our
Yes,
hosts
I'm
are
actually
dumb
done.
fuck number 1, dumb fuck number 2.
And Skullfucker number 3.
I claim dumb fuck number 4.
Personally, I claim shit ass.
I
No,
think that's
that's
my
Eli.
job. Yeah.
Ah, fuck. The more-
That's Mr. Fibers over there.
Not gonna lie, there
Mr.
might be a
Fibers.
moment where I bail in the middle of the episode. If you see my microphone go on mute, that's why.
You're shitting.
Oh,
yourself.
you're just fighting for your life? Okay.
Yeah, I'll still be listening and like I can keep up with the conversation, but like I'll be fighting for my life in there because like this is a really, I don't know what's going on with my stomach. I should probably take some like Pepto or something. This is fine.
Eli,
Take that,
how do I
be a man.
say? It's gonna be
I
really
hope you
fun.
have sponsorship from Pepto because of you.
That'd be hilarious.
Eli, you know, one day you're gonna pass on from this world, and your kids are gonna look back on this for memories and just see you.
I honestly hope you shit
He
yourself.
was, yeah, I could see. I could already imagine Eli's eulogy. He was very talented, and he was a people's person, just like Elvis. And he went just like Elvis.
10 pounds of shit in his colon.
Jesus Christ.
My favorite thing was that fucking text post where this person called a random number and they're like, "Yeah, we're from this school district. We just want to let you know that your son needs to be picked up," or something like that. And they're like, "Why? What did he do?" And I'm like, "Well, he went just like Elvis did," and then hung up.
Whoa.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Got
It's
him.
terrible.
Got him.
Man, when we're like 10 years older and have kids, that's gonna like we're gonna look back on this episode and man, this is gonna hurt.
I'm gonna fuck my kids up.
I could already imagine like Pippin just if he ever becomes a dad, God forbid. No offense.
Thanks
I
for the
could
vote of
hear.
confidence.
I could already imagine that. Some poor teacher going, "Yeah, unfortunately, one of your kids managed to grab one of the desks, hurl it over their heads into the window, crashing said window, and managing to get the desk land perfectly on our student council president left toe." And Pippin just going, "Oh, baby!"
You're just like dying laughing.
Yeah.
So this is very serious offense. Yeah, it's seriously funny.
He just walks into
Be like,
the
"Oh yeah, they're
principal's
getting punished
office.
when they get home, just dying."
he just walks into the principal office and is like, "Hello," and like the principal is like, "I see
Oh
where
my
this is coming
God.
from now. It's all coming together."
Fucking furries again.
So this is where the
Remember
retardation
next
stems
time?
from.
Wait, how did we get to furries from shit? What the fuck?
I don't
I
know.
don't fucking know.
Wait a minute, is this gonna
Let's
be a
try
Darwin
this.
Award episode or weird kinks that we don't understand on the internet
No.
episode? What are we doing?
No,
already had
hard,
my
hard
turn.
pass.
I did not say furries. I said
Hey,
I
you're
said
technically
the name of
off this
someone.
one.
Jonah's the one that said furries. All
I
right,
was gonna
he's
say,
the one
Jonah,
that
you're
took it there.
technically off this episode, so you can scoot at any time.
I did say that. However, I'm kind of having fun.
well, you're just a liar then, Jonah. Come on.
No, it was mostly because like I was just gonna play games for an hour and then go do chores, but in reality, I kind of want to just sit and bullshit with you guys and then go to do the chores after this.
Fair enough.
Don't lie to us. You're not doing the chores.
All right, get it,
I
get it
really
going.
need to.
All right, boys, welcome to Cabin Chat. You know what's really interesting about this world that we live in? I really think that humanity as a whole is amazing. I mean, comparatively speaking, of course, our time on this planet is like a blink of an eye compared to some of the other things that has been here. Look at dinosaurs, specific species of plants, certain other animals. It's quite amazing that some of the things that humanity has managed to pull off in, 10,000, 15,000 years? Or is it 100,000? Something like that. Anyways, we did, sent people to the moon, went to different continents, managed to split the atom. But you know what's the most amazing thing of just the most immaculate thing that humanity has ever achieved and will never be topped?
Wireless internet.
Killing themselves?
Sherry's on the right track, boys.
Hell yeah. Mass genocide.
No.
All
Darwin
of the
Awards.
Mark Zuckerberg.
No. The Darwin
Dare
Awards.
say-
The Darwin Awards. Because nothing makes it funnier that a species so advanced offering themselves the dumbest ways possible.
And
Oh.
then documenting it.
And then documenting it exactly.
And posting it on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Oh yeah, Mr. Hands.
oh god. What a way to go.
That's an
We
understatement.
will, I'll explain Mr. Hands at a later time. You can go right ahead and explain what you want.
So, I have 3 stories that I've selected from the Darwin Awards website myself,
God.
and I would like to go through some of those with you guys if that would be okay.
oh
sure,
yeah,
well,
great.
I'll start with the one of the more recent ones that I have, which is quite short and sweet, and it is titled "The Car Wash Blues," a 2022 Darwin Award winner confirmed true by Darwin.
God.
And it reads as follows. 15th of April 2022, California. Perplexing. Why did a Las Vegas resident jump out of the car inside an Escondido car wash at midnight? Avoiding a bee? All we know is that they did. Rene Tacte drove into the car wash, then exited the Scion hatchback while the drive was still in gear. Under its own power, the Scion evidently crept forward, as cars do, and the 56-year-old was pinned beneath the vehicle. Escondido police said the car wash was not active at the time. The driver was noticed by the next person to visit the car wash. Authorities took the unresponsive body to Palomar Medical Center, where death was confirmed. No extenuating circumstances have been found, so we bestow upon Rene a washed-up Darwin Award, and commend to the reader to read the hardy Reddit snarks. Now, if you go to the Reddit website, you see some very interesting takes, such as, his body got cleansed, so no need to visit the morgue, straight to the grave or cremating.
Holy fuck!
oh man.
Followed by, soft touch, touch-free, touched by an angel, never select the last one.
Oh my god.
My personal favorite has to be pre-embalming wash.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just There's so
Well-
many ridiculous ways to go involving cars.
Well, if you really think about it, that person was cleansed in the eyes of God. Like, if you go up to the pearly gates and God says you aren't clean after that, then there's no such thing as being clean.
But the car wash didn't happen, so they just got out of the vehicle while it was in gear and ran themselves over, correct?
Basically, yeah. That's
Basically, yes.
Huh.
It was literally a case of Ghost riding the whip, crashing into the owner, and fucking killing them.
Jeez.
So yeah, make sure you don't do anything stupid while driving, kids. But I'm sure that's not going to really stop anyone now, is it?
Hey, I haven't hit anyone recently.
Okay,
I'm almost as bad as.
that's getting edited.
Okay, you say that, yet you're the one who jackknifed himself in a semi-open parking lot.
What do you mean jackknife myself?
No, he T-boned himself.
Or
I
T-boned himself.
T-boned myself
Excuse me.
in the middle of winter.
That doesn't make it any better now, does it?
It really doesn't, Pippin. You've explained to me that car accident, and every time I hear it, I just...
It makes less
amazed.
sense.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Oh,
on the way back
You,
up.
you are the living embodiment of a Darwin Award, but you're like the anti-Darwin Award of like everything bad happened,
He was coming
but
back...
you lived.
well, you see, in order for you to be actually eligible to win a Darwin Award, you need to remove yourself from the gene pool.
Yeah, I'm not planning on doing that.
Well, that's why I said anti.
Maybe you
Darwin
should
Award.
seriously consider.
Poor Mary.
No, my goal is to have kids and to pass that fuckery on to them.
How do we
You're gonna
stop
that?
this
You're
from
gonna bring that
happening?
evil upon Mary? Why?
I'm just saying, my fuckery is not as bad as my dad's fuckery.
That doesn't mean shit, Pippin.
Yeah,
What
but
if it skips
fuckery is still
generation?
fuckery.
Yeah.
I'm seriously hoping it doesn't skip a generation because that will scare the shit out of me.
That would
Well, honey, we're putting the kid up for adoption. I
No.
can't handle him because he's too much like my dad.
No offense, Pippin, but if somehow you and Mary have a kid that winds up being completely normal, I will give you $1,000.
I can see that happening.
All right, this is on video now.
It's on video.
I mean, okay, let me
Post it on the
rephrase
internet.
it. I would give you $1,000, but I cannot afford it.
You've just challenged him to do something. He might do everything in his power to
Yeah,
get it
okay,
done.
okay, but what happened? Okay, then what are you gonna do if you don't have a kid that's normal?
You know he could easily whoop your ass, right?
And then he's out $1,000, but he still has a kid.
I see this as
You
an
can
absolute.
unalive the kid. Well, I mean, you can.
Whoever
Unalive
wins
the
gets
kid.
custody of the child.
My money's on Pippin. No offense, Jonah.
Shut.
And
Pippin is the
always-
embodiment of living insanity. So,
My dad
I
always
know.
loved to tell me, "I brought you into this world. I can damn well take you out of it."
You ever
That's what
tempted
every
him?
parent says.
Yeah.
I've come close a couple times. He always used to do this thing where when he wanted me to go somewhere or do something, he'd grab me by the back of my neck and guide me with one
Oh,
hand. And I was
God.
like, Jesus, Dad.
My
dude."
That's a
dad
good way to fuck up someone's neck.
My dad would just smack me upside the head whenever I was being fucking stupid. He just.
Oh yeah, my dad does that too. He just, whenever he wanted me to go and do something, he'd grab me by the scruff of my neck and move me to do it.
and your dad was nicer than my dad. My dad he called it the Vulcan death grip.
Oh God.
Because my dad has big hands like I do, and he would just he would manage to get the pressure points on like the back of your neck, like or like right at the center points, and that's how I really made him mad. Like if I did something really really stupid,
Oh. God.
it stopped it's like all the punishments your parents have. Once I got bigger than my dad, I didn't have to worry about that anymore. 'Cause my neck was too big.
Adaptation, its finest, boys.
That doesn't work for me because my dad, even though I'm like fully grown, my dad is still bigger than me.
It is what it is.
My dad always likes to say, age and treachery will always overpower youth and enthusiasm.
Jesus Christ. Sounds like my fucking tech ed teacher. He's like, I'll always win a fight. And I was like, okay. And he would just go he's like, I fight dirty. And I'm like, why are you telling a bunch of high schoolers this? You're like 50 years old, dude. Like, chill.
I feel like that's kind of like tempting fate, but I don't know.
He was a little. He's the same guy that whenever we talked about the metric system, he would say, "We don't speak kami around here."
Ah, an old soul. I see.
He was an interesting man.
Forgotten in time, I see.
Yeah, honestly, in that shop class, some people almost won a few Darwin Awards. Like,
I would not be surprised.
I work in a metal shop. It's a living embodiment of Darwin Awards.
a fucking dude took a piece of wood and set it on his lap and drilled through it. And drilled right into his leg, missing his carotid artery by like centimeters.
Oh,
That's an
my.
act of God right there.
The tech ed teacher said, "What were you thinking?" He's like, "I don't know."
I don't even know, man.
If you consider for a Darwin Award, does the way you die have to be stupid, or does the things leading up to your death have to be stupid?
You have to remove yourself from the gene pool, so castration does count.
Jesus Christ.
It just needs to be funny. One example that I can give you from the top of my head was this one guy, I believe he was like somewhere in Europe, I don't remember exactly, but he decides to get himself a cock ring,
Right.
but he doesn't know how to use one, right? So he goes,
no.
"Oh, I'll just figure it out, it's fine." So what he does is he puts it around his penis as well as his testicles,
Oh.
blocking blood flow to said regions, having to go to the hospital because he couldn't take it out because his dick was too hard. They had to
Fuck.
castrate the man and amputate his penis and his testicles.
Jesus
And he
Christ.
won a Darwin Award that way. It was so...
Well, it's one of two options. You either cut the cock ring and then you blow up his heart, or you cut out his penis.
What
And
a
you-
way to go.
Oh.
Damn. Like, he's not even dead, though. Like, he has to live the rest of his life knowing that he fucked up so bad. He
He's
lost.
a eunuch.
Oh.
Yep.
That's more than just a. Oh, fuck.
There's another more fucked up one that I could tell you, where
I'm okay.
it involves drunk men and a chainsaw.
Oh yeah.
Nothing ever
Can
goes
I-
wrong there.
Jem, can I talk
Yes.
about my quick short metal shop one?
Oh, go for it. I'd love to hear it.
So, as any person who works in a shop environment, wood shop, metal shop, brake presses, lasers, all sorts of fun things that make metal into different shapes. This video circulates every like 2-3 years, and everyone's like cracks down on safety because of it. It's a video of a roughly 40-inch diameter chucker lathe, which means that the spindle itself is 40 inches. It based on the math, if you do a little bit of math, that's outputting literally tens of thousands of pounds of, or foot-pounds of torque.
That's a huge lathe.
It's they use them for very specific purposes, for large diameter for large diameter cutting, and for basically things that are like so big they go in buildings. But they still need to turn them for some reason. So every few years, like if I remember the video right, because it is a video, and the video does circulate with the story. Literally, this worker walks up to, or is at his station, and naturally it's like in some place in the Far East that doesn't have the same guarding laws as they do here. That's the reason why most of those 40 to 50, 60-inch lathes are not in the United States because they are simply too dangerous to operate in the country.
Yep.
So what happens is this is spinning like at 400 or 500 RPM, decent clip for a thing that size. It's a lot of rotating mass. And this guy gets his arm caught,
Oh, God.
like his sleeve caught in the machine, and it literally flings him around.
Just launching him. Yeah.
He gets caught in it, and he's not released until a poor, unfortunate soul, like sees what's going on, sees like this giant, like basically white thing, because they're wearing like these white uniforms, spinning around the lathe, and him naturally like doing the thing you do in a shop when you see something moving that you don't recognize, you emergency stop, and then him realizing that like the area is covered in like blood and guts and like literally he's like centripetal forced to death.
Yeah.
Like
And
the guy was, and the
this
guy was
video-
like scarred.
Yeah, that video was like I remember the video because Steve showed it to us.
Yeah, I
And,
see it every few years just because I've worked in machine shops before.
Oh,
Yeah, and the guy's like, you could tell as it's happening, like after he pressed the e-stop, that he's just like, oh man, like you could see that like the shock set in, and that he doesn't know what to do, and he just kind of stands there with his hands on his head, like, oh god.
And then he
This
walks
just
over
happened.
and just like falls down, like 'cause
Yeah.
he's in just like his body's in this horrific shock. Because there also is a moment where you can see the guy's like sleeve getting caught. So there's a moment where this guy realizes what he fucked up, and then it takes him.
Yeah,
One
it
of my
doesn't take very long.
coworkers was I got stories from two of my coworkers about two different things, but one of them, so he used to work for the DoD as a welder and making ships, like Navy ships and stuff, and so they'd have him up on a rig, and like a cherry picker type thing. And it'd be two people up there, and they'd be doing some welding, and they had something called a suicide saw, for obvious reasons, because it was janky as shit. But apparently the partner that he was working with at the time was trying to do a cut with the suicide saw, and it started skittering on the steel. And he had one hand up against the side of the one hand up against the side of the ship, and it was close to where the skittering saw was, and cut off one of his friggin' fingers, and just blood everywhere. And apparently the finger went into my coworker's gear bag,
Whoa.
God.
and he's like, "Oh fuck, we gotta get down, we gotta get down, we gotta get down." And my other coworker was telling me a story about how his dad, who works for a company that makes specialty machines, was creating this machine that basically took the saran wrap type things. It was just a real thin sheet of like plastic that was supposed to go over paper plates to help, you know, help them survive a little bit better. And so he had like these two rubberized rollers that would feed the sheet through, and he was poking at it trying to get the sheet to go through it, because they're so tight that you just couldn't manually feed it through easily. And apparently one of the guys who he was working with decided that it would be a good idea to turn on the machine as he was poking, trying to get the thing in. And my coworker told me that the tip of his dad's ring finger was basically ripped off, and you could see the bone from on the tip of the finger and everything. And they got it reattached, and he went to the hospital and got it all fixed. So it's hard to tell anything apparently is wrong with it, but he's got like a little ring around the side.
I remember there was a guy right after I graduated high school. I knew of him because the movie theater I worked at, him and his wife would come in all the time to go see movies. But I knew he had kids, but they were all homeschooled, so I never went to school with them. And he had a ton of kids. And I forget exactly what he was doing, but I just remember it was being stupid. He had taken well, I shouldn't say stupid, but it just didn't seem very smart to me. But hindsight's 2020. What this guy did was, it was like a giant, what is it, like backhoe, I want to say it was what it was. But they had the cab of it tilted up so he could work inside of it. They basically jacked it up, and he could work on the bottom part of it in between where the treads were and the top cab part. And he was working on it, and I don't know what happened, but there was a kid with him, and some part came loose or something like that, and the whole cab came down right on top of him. And yeah, and the kid basically just like turned around, and he just sees well, I shouldn't say, I don't know for certain, but the dude was inside of it, and so he saw all of that happen. And like I kind of knew the guy, and I kind of knew his kids and everything from just the local area, but it was nuts to read that in the paper.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I just don't know. Like, I forget what it was, but it just, like, it... You can't just do that. Like, you got to figure out some smarter way of doing that.
Yeah.
Some people learn it the hard way.
I guess.
Oh.
That's just how
Yeah.
it is.
I've got another story that actually kind of fits the Darwin Award theme.
Yeah.
So this is the same coworker who used to work for the DoD. And so,
Mhm.
they were up high on these ships doing the welding that they needed to do. And apparently they had, like the climbing harnesses that loop around your legs and up against your chest and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently they had those, but they never wore them real tight around the legs. It was always just kind of there, real loose, dangling, because they didn't like how tight it got up around the groin area and everything. So
Mhm.
apparently one guy was working, and he managed to fall off of wherever he was working, and he had his legs real loose, right?
Mm.
He falls, and the climbing harness catches him. But because his legs weren't real tight like they should have been,
Oh no.
the leg part of the climbing harness snaps up hard enough to rip open his scrotum.
Oh!
Fuck. Oh.
And apparently, you could see this dude's testicle fall down his pants and out his pants.
No! No!
And so
Talk about dropping a nut.
nobody knew what had happened. It just knew that this guy who was way up in the air, was now, dangling, screaming bloody murder.
I think that's going to be our first clip.
Oh.
You can say this man had some balls.
Jesus Christ.
What a nutty day, man. But
Dude, I'm gonna bust a nut. Oh no, not in that way.
in the literal sense, oh shit.
Fucking
Apparently,
taking the turn
after that incident, everybody wore the climbing harnesses real tight around the legs.
Oh my
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I will have to call my dad up because something similar happened with my father, but not to him, to somebody else he knew when they were kids. I don't know what exactly happened. All I know is the kid lost a testicle. So what they started to call, well, I don't know if my dad called him this, but other kid.
Trump?
No, they called him Uni. Yeah, because he was missing
Called
one.
Luna nut.
Yeah.
But anyway, if that's okay, I would like to move on to the second story.
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
It does involve snakes.
All right.
So the title goes, 124 snakes seek less annoying housemate.
Oh God.
And it's composed of two parts, which is follows. Maryland has a snake problem number 1. The 21st of November 2021, Maryland. A homeowner in Montgomery County was fed up with a snake infestation. But instead of calling a professional, they opted to smoke the basement with burning coals on the basement floor.
Fucking idiot.
The coals started a fire that likely did smoke out snakes, but it also spread and burned that house to the ground. Like bringing a chainsaw to a knife fight. There were no human injuries, so this one's an honorable mention. But check out the next. Maryland has a snake problem number 2. On January 19th, 2022, authorities making a welfare check in Pomfret, Maryland, found David Riston dead alone in their house. Alone except for numerous species of snakes, some venomous, cobras, rattlesnakes, black mambas, and a gigantic python were among the 124 serpentine residents still living in the house.
Oh my God.
These
Holy
exotic snakes were kept in beautiful habitat enclosures, but evidently one disgruntled serpente had protested confinement. Autopsy confirmed that the 49-year-old Homo sapiens died of accidental snake envenomation.
What the fuck does that mean?
Getting venomed, or well,
You got
by, or yeah, you got bit by the venomous snake.
Okay, alright.
Accidental? Did anyone ask the snake about its motives? Also, I found no report on which species did it. I sense a parlor mystery game here. The body was discovered on January 19, 2022, and the neighbors had no idea.
I mean, how would you? I imagine somebody that owns that many snakes probably doesn't communicate with very many people.
I fucking like.
I'm with other people who own that many snakes.
I do too, but I'm willing to. I'd put money on the black mamba, like 100%. Those things fucking terrify me. One time,
Are they venomous?
oh, they're one of the most venomous. Besides, like,
Oh, okay.
I think besides maybe like the king cobra or something like that. I forget which one is the most venomous, but it's up there. I have a story for you. My parents are big hunters, right? One time they took a trip to Africa to go hunting, and my dad is very into trapping, and other things like that. And so there was a bunch of Africans there that were trackers that were hired up by the guide to track the animals for them. And my dad was trying to figure out what they were tracking, like he'd ask them questions and things like that because he was curious. And in the beginning, my dad couldn't make out what the fuck they were looking at because they were looking at snake trails because there was a shit ton of snake trails all over the place, but it's squiggles in the fucking sand. Like, how do you really determine what that is?
Quite difficult.
Right. But these guys were able to sit there, look at it, and go, yeah, that's this snake, that's a puff adder. And my dad started to catch on just a little bit. He couldn't figure out what it was, but he was like, is that a puff adder track or whatever? He would ask the guide, and the guy goes, in like this thick Afrikaans accent would go, no, that's black mamba. He lived by my house. And my dad's just like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, what the fuck?
What does that mean?
Oh my god, I couldn't imagine just like, yeah, that's just the black mama. He's right by my house all the time. It's just like he's just chilling. It's like, what?
Scare the shit out of me, honestly. Like I can't imagine living in an area that has snakes like that natively.
There was one other
Let alone 124 snakes in a single house in fucking Maryland, of all places.
What did I
Yeah,
See,
what the fuck?
I want to know the square footage of the house. I want to know the density.
Oh, you want to know the serpent per square inch?
Like, it's a fucking... His basement must have been like a fucking Indiana Jones dungeon full of fucking
Assuming
snakes
they
just
were
crawling
all
on
in
the
his
ground.
basement and not, scattered around his house.
I'm assuming they're in the basement, but making a lot of assumptions about somebody that put coals in their basement.
Yeah, that's the real smart one, right?
I mean, hey, it did smoke the snakes, so was it really that ineffective?
Experts would say that he was trying to commit tax fraud for some reason.
Speaking of taxes, that reminds me of another story involving snakes and a 911 dispatch call.
Yes, let's go. I'm excited for this one.
So basically, the story goes is the person of interest here is a homeowner, and they have a pet snake that is quite friendly with them. He takes good care of the snake. Sometimes it lets it out of its enclosure so it can wander around the house and kind of get used to it. And during nighttime, the snake would go in its enclosure, lid closed, everything nice and secured, and he would go to bed. Well, what he didn't know was that the snake was quite crafty, and it actually found a way to sneak out of its enclosure and sneak back in during nighttime. So, one night, our person of interest, let's say, the homeowner in this case,
Protagonist.
Snake.
he wakes up to the sound of someone screaming and yelling in pain in his house. So, as any single person would do in a situation like this, he jumped out of his bed, grabbed his phone, and probably some sort of flashlight to see what the fuck was going on. What he wasn't expecting to find was a burglar on the floor clutching his leg and a snake wrapped around his leg, screaming in pain as the snake has managed to bite it onto this man's thigh so hard that it has incapacitated the poor guy.
There were
What a
two
man.
snakes in the house.
Well, I suppose. So, what ended up happening was he called 911, and the 911 dispatch person, either through sheer disbelief or just maybe it was an off day, for one reason or another, was very confused and didn't really cooperate right out the gate. So our protagonist then simply hands the phone over to the burglar, who then screams, "There's a fucking snake on my leg! Please send me an ambulance!" So not only do they send an ambulance to deal with the snake or deal with the burglar, they also sent animal control and the cops to deal with this guy.
Bro,
Nice.
like, how do I say,
What a
like,
way to go!
if I was a police officer and I showed up to that shit show, I would just be like, I did not get paid enough for this. Fucking Christ.
Well, that's why you get animal
Honestly,
control.
honestly, what I would do is for the burglar, if I were the cop, granted, I would be way cooler than most cops. And I'd be like, dude, I think nearly dying is punishment enough.
You've had a rough day. I'm sorry to say, but we're gonna throw you in jail. Entering is a felony.
I've been watching.
You see, I'm just charging you with breaking and entering rather than just blatant robbery and grand larceny, simply because I think you've already been punished a decent amount.
I've been watching, like, just so for some background information, I love watching body cam footage. I don't know what it is, but just watching people do dumb things is very entertaining for me. Like, I know it's not, like, maybe the best thing, but, like, I find it entertaining. And the amount of shit people do. Back when live PD was still a thing, there was, like, a dude that was flooring it, like, on a police chase, crashed into, like, a telephone pole, crawls out of the vehicle, like, with his child in one hand, fighting off the cops, basically, like, without a shirt or anything else on, like, with the other hand. And I'm just like, this is real life? Like, how the fuck does this happen? Like, it just crazy shit like that, whether it's, like, shit like that snake story or, like, the dude in lacrosse that I watched today, like, what was it? Fucking, crash his vehicle and then run to his grandma's house and then, like, basically start, like, crying to the cops, asking that he just wants to, like, I don't know. It's just crazy. There's tons of crazy shit on body cam footage. And, like, it's all highly entertaining.
You know, it's like really entertaining to watch though. Like, I don't know why I get a sick satisfaction out of it. So there's like body cam footage of people that are like they're doing like drum corps stuff, and the shit that you hear, like this, it's really like puts the drum corps performances really into perspective. The shit they say as they're like in a performance is ridiculous. Like they'll literally like be doing their dances or whatever, and like they'll lean over to one another and be like, "Dude, I forgot my music." "Hey, yo, me too." And they just walk away from each other. And like, I don't know if they actually mean it or if it's just something they do in the show to keep tempo. Because like, apparently that's a thing that people do in drum corps. Where like in drum corps, you're basically like you come up with these things, these sayings to keep the rhythm inside your heart as you're doing your performance. Because like, not every song has like a really known easy 4-count beat. Other songs are like really difficult, and that's just the point of drum corps, is like make really difficult music and also have really entertaining visuals.
Yeah, you know what really suffers though, unfortunately, the actual music.
Yeah, the music's
It's not that it's like not bad, like and it's well arranged and it's like they did the best for what they can. But man, are you like, man, is this the same song that they've been playing for 5 bands in a row? They all have different names and different authors, but this feels like the same song.
Yeah, it feels like it's always the same kind of music. There's no variety. There's only like a few bands that can really stand out, and the ones that stand out are the ones that don't score well.
Yeah, it's like, why is this a 5/3 polyrhythm? Why is every band playing this weird rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, in the same like vein of I guess weird injuries that have happened while at like work or other things like that. When I was working for my first job on co-op, it was kind of a weird injury that we heard about while we were like all kind of sitting in the office, just kind of chilling. Like we were all working on our projects or whatever, and we get this email alert saying that there was like a safety event that to keep this area clear. And we're like, okay, well, we'll stay away from that machine. It's no big deal. turns out that we got the full story later because we had to do like a whole safety brief on how to, operate around these types of machines, and if you have to do one of these machines, make sure you lock out and tag out and try out this machine or whatever. This guy, he was on his way out from the shift. Like he was literally like end of his day. He wanted to leave, and the machine that this he was walking by had like a hydraulic leak. Like there was like oil dripping out of it, and his manager on his way out was like, "Hey, check out the leak there. Just go make sure it's gonna be fine." So he's like, "All right, sure." He goes over and starts inspecting the line. And the operator that was there when he first started inspecting the line left, clocked out, and then the new operator shows up. And the new operator is an immigrant, so like English isn't their first language, and there's a bit of a communication breakdown here where the guy tells him don't run the machine, and sees him like hold his hand up or whatever, and the guy's like, "Oh, okay, run machine," and the guy's hand was literally over where the leak was, and it ran for like a split second, but for the split second, it drilled like maybe I don't know, like a pin needle hole in his finger from like it was a really small leak, but pin needle hole. And if for those that aren't aware, when hydraulic fluid gets into the bloodstream,
Oh, you're fucked.
you are going to be in a bad time very quickly if you don't get to the hospital. So this guy runs to like medical, and as he's like running to medical, he's like calling 911 to like come pick him up in an ambulance. And medical people are like, "Okay, all right, we can't do anything here because like we don't have the equipment to do that, but like we're gonna do our best." So like they try to tourniquet off, but it's not gonna do anything because like it's already in the bloodstream. It's really small liquid, so it's still gonna flow through at some point. And his arm is swelling at this point, like really fucking large. And the ambulance pulls up, gets him inside, and they take him to a hospital. The hospital that he went to literally told him, "We're not equipped to handle this kind of thing. Go to this other hospital that's 10 minutes down the road."
Oh.
And this guy's like freaking out in the back of this ambulance. He's just like, "I can't fucking do this right now." And they get, lo and behold, they speed. They get there in like 5 minutes. Like it was supposed to be 10 minutes, but they get there in 5. He gets into the hospital and they're already ready for him. And like the worst part is when there's hydraulic fluid in your system, it's got to be bled out. You can't just
so
like
they have to cut the arm up, basically.
yeah. So they've sliced his arm up, no numbing at all. He's fully conscious. Slice his arm up and bleed him for many hours.
I'm surprised they didn't have to amputate it.
They didn't have to amputate. They got it out, but like he was probably a few minutes from being dead.
Did he
Like,
did he still have did he get full control over his arm back, like, or
that hand was never quite the same from what I heard from people after the fact.
Sure.
It was like a couple months after I'd left the company. I'd talked to somebody from that company about it, and they were like, "Yeah, his arm is like a quarter of the strength it used to be."
fuck? Pippin,
Yeah.
didn't something like that almost happen to you?
I mean, it wasn't to that extreme, but I did get hit with hydraulic spray. It wasn't as high pressure, though.
Was that like during your senior design project?
Yeah, what happened was so the company we were working for basically wanted a hydraulic arm attached to a dumpster, right? And so, I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. So while we were doing the testing, after everything was said and done, we had one of our customer contacts operating it, and he was playing around with it, moving the arm in and out. And when he was pulling back, he accidentally pulled the arm too far back, and the hydraulic hoses weren't protected real well, and so it just kept going, and it actually busted one of the hydraulic hoses and sprayed hydraulic fluid a good, I don't know, 20-30 feet. It wasn't high enough pressure to do any real damage, but it did give a good spray. I have that picture somewhere. Hold on, I can send that into the chat.
Sure.
But yeah, that was
I remember you telling
definitely
me that
spooky.
story, and I was just sitting there like, you fucking idiot.
I mean, I didn't have any chance to dodge
No, that's
because
fair.
I was just standing next to it.
I know.
So.
It just the way when you originally told me it, how do I say? It seemed like that the place there was not very safety orientated.
Safety third.
All right,
Kevin,
here's
honestly, I need to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I'm surprised you didn't just open your mouth and start drinking it for some reason, because I could totally see you doing that.
Like a fucking cat just starts licking it up.
Undo my favorite.
yeah. There to go. I put it into picture video dump.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's quite the spray.
I remember seeing that after
That's what
it
she
happened.
said.
Hey. You were so pissed off that day.
That whole
Oh, you were
project-
mad. You
Oh,
were very
yeah.
mad.
That
I
whole
would be too
project was a
loud.
dumpster fire.
I think
Yeah.
that's the loudest I've ever heard you yell when you got back to the house. Like you
Also
were
dumpster
shaking.
fire. But
Yeah. I was very angry because our project ran 2 weeks beyond the end of the semester, and they were holding up my diploma until the project was finished. And there was a huge issue where the customer's expectations were not in line with what the program's expectations were. So the customer wanted a fully production-ready final product. They wanted to be able to attach it to a garbage truck and take it out on the street that day, type thing. And we're like, we're only supposed to give you, level alpha prototyping. It's a prototype. Just remember,
Yeah.
this is a prototype. It's a prototype. It's a prototype. This is not production ready. And they were giving us all sorts of shit throughout the whole thing for it. I mean, week 1 of semester 1 of senior design, after we had initially made contact with them, they're like, okay, so when are you guys going to get us prints?
Okay.
Christ.
Not for a long ass time. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't
And
like.
so
Yeah, it just baffles me that like they expected that out of college students. Like,
well, I mean, and our primary contact was a recent graduate. He had literally graduated the semester before.
and he expected this of you?
And I think he was under a lot of pressure from his higher ups, and so he kind of threw his own experience with it to the wind. But the project that he was on is still going, even now.
That company
Is-
sounds like a shit show.
It was, well, I mean, their engineering department was 2 people, so
Yeah, definitely not.
I see.
Yeah, I'll say like senior design definitely prepared me a little bit for what I'm doing right now, but like what I'm doing right now is like senior design at crack, because basically like every project has really short lead times and you have to like produce.
See,
It-
I don't
it's-
have that.
I don't.
I
have to
still
worry
love
about that. I was talking to. He was like, "Yeah, I'm in the meme senior design," and I just went.
I mean, he has no choice but
Yeah,
to
I
do that,
was-
'cause he graduates this semester. So.
I was his TA for the grading discussion stuff for
Oh
first
yeah.
semester of his senior design. Yeah,
Huh. Well,
a
how
lot
did?
of times he just didn't do it, which I can't blame him. But I had to give him zeros.
Feels bad. Nepotism
know.
did not win this game.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I lived with that man for a year. Like I love him to death. How do I say? I'm pretty lazy, and he's not as lazy as I am sometimes. But like I would just turn to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just not gonna do it." And then he'd just go play like Siege or something.
To be fair, those discussion posts were bullshit.
Yeah,
so
They
like,
didn't have
I
any
didn't-
real outcome on your grade either.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
I
why
didn't
he's
do
refusing
hardly
to
any.
do them. Right. Like he's gonna graduate with a way better GPA than probably like me or most other people that went to that school.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he's also
I
dual
know-
majoring. Like fuck.
Yeah, he's insane for that. But I know Mary got into the MSc senior design, and she was really happy about that. Jerry, it sounds like she's working with Wapaka Foundry for her project.
They're a good company, as long as it's Plant 2-3.
I have no idea what.
Plant 1's fine.
I have no idea what.
That's a joke for all of our Wapaka Foundry listeners.
Yeah.
2 of them.
You mean
-2.
0?
All -2 of them.
Negative Christ. Well,
Now,
wait.
if we had one, it'd be quite impressive.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
I'd
technically
expect
we
a
do,
comment on the video at least.
right?
You want to lay a comment on the video? If you from Wapaka Foundry, what percent?
All my people from Wapaka, please stand up.
Oh yeah, her project
there's-
sounds pretty cool, so I'm excited for her, especially
Is she
since
pouring
got out of
metal
shit show.
from a bowl into a mold? Because that's why I suspect her senior design is.
It's probably not far off. It's something to do with removing impurities from recycled materials.
Ooh.
That sounds fun.
How do we? Basically, what they're looking for, the answer for is, how do we avoid lead hits? Do you guys know what lead hits are?
I
idea.
don't think you do.
Me computer science person. Me no any kind of
man.
mechanical engineering bullshit.
Jonah,
This is mechanical
okay, Jonah.
engineering.
I'm gonna
I
be
know.
honest. For someone who went to computer science, you are definitely one of the more approachable persons I've met.
Yeah, I know.
That's a low bar though. That's
That
a
is a-
really low bar.
Honestly,
What
I
do
will
you
say
mean? It's literally through the fucking floor, bro.
the only difference may be in the name, but software engineers are way more approachable from everything I've seen. than CS people.
I disagree.
I agree. That's what you think.
I've
mean-
known 3 software engineers, and I've known a bunch more CS people. And the software engineers I've met, much more approachable and friendly.
How do
Software
I
engineers
say
I know in my company are very approachable.
Well, yeah, but they're also, how do I say, people that make it to industry more often than not are not antisocial as fuck, like the ones that we knew in school.
That's fair.
Like-
fair.
And then the other thing is that, okay, here's how, like, I would say you guys are more correct in that aspect. Like, yes, but also, like, I guess the thing is with software engineers, there's a lot less of them than computer science people because, computer science is so broad and software engineering is very specific. But I also, like, my O group, my first few weeks of, like, for people who don't know at home, your O group stands for basically orientation group. It's whoever's in your major, and, like, they take you around and have you tour the campus for, like, the first week or 2 at Tech. And I had a professor's daughter in the class, and I had a bunch of other people in the class. We probably had a 30-minute conversation, or they did. I had never watched it at the time, about Neon Genesis Evangelion. And I was just sitting there like, all right, cool. But they were like being real weebs about it. And one of the guys there told me how he was a Satan worshiper. And then he, like, we just had a brief conversation, but I had to, like, deal with this guy the entire week. And he put his arm around me, and he's like, I found a new friend. And I went, fucking bet. Get away from me.
Assert dominance.
I almost-
fuck off.
You might have to blur this name, but was that?
Yes! Yes, it was. Jesus.
Yeah.
How did you know him?
So my
Did you
second
teach
year.
him his ways?
No, my second year
Damn.
of college, I went to this leadership seminar thing for a week and a half, and he was there, and he and his girlfriend just made out the whole time. Like they were in separate groups at one point, and we were in different areas, and he was in the group that I happened to be in, and we got finished with whatever activity we were doing, and his girlfriend was waiting outside the room. She grabbed him by his lapels and just started making out with him. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
He was wearing lapels.
Lapels is in like the area around the neck of your shirt.
Okay. I was like, the dude
Not
was
like not specific lapels. That
I was like,
Damn.
the dude was wearing fucking suspenders. Like, how do you
supposed to be
not
like, yeah.
roast the fuck out of somebody wearing that?
Hey, even if he was wearing lapels, he still managed to get a girlfriend, bro.
Shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
Jeb. The fact, okay, all I'm gonna say is this: she's probably not the most stable person.
he definitely was.
Yes, but they seem like they would know exactly what that kind of relationship is if she's
They
waiting
seem
outside
to
the room.
belong together.
And just leave them there to each other,
Hey.
right?
Yeah.
They be fucking alright. They be fucking.
Oh yeah.
How do I say? It's really funny because I met one of my like closest friends in that same O group, and we were friends like ever since that week. but like he immediately,
Trauma bonding, let's go.
bro, me and him sat there and roasted the fuck out of everybody else in that group. Well, like, okay, our first week there, we had to, like, for whatever reason, I should say expects, but they're like, we have a summer reading thing that you have to read before you come to school. And I was like, what the fuck? No, I'm gonna enjoy
nobody
my
read
summer. Everyone in my group fucking did, except for me. And I was sitting there like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, and it was like about censorship or cancel culture or something like that. And I'm sitting there listening to all these people talk about how like online anonymity or something like that, and how they said that
Anonymity.
I can never say the word. It does, like, no matter how many times I try it. But like, anyways, what ends up happening is basically one of the girls, and this was a professor's daughter, says like, we should start like we should make it illegal for you to have anonymity on any platform of any kind. So you, like, your name has to be tied to it, like your actual legal given name. And like, I don't know how she wanted to do this, but that was like her idea, is like everything you say on the internet needs to be monitored. And I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is wrong
so-
with you?
Yo, Big Brother, Deep State, hello.
Yeah.
It's
And-
police state, Gem. Get it right.
Oh, same difference.
Based.
and our
Same dystopia, different names.
Exactly.
our orientation leader was a guy that was like a jujitsu guy that was like a chem-eng or some shit. I don't remember what major he was, but he did not want to deal with our bullshit. And
I can't say I blame the guy.
no, I can't either. But like me and my friend were sitting there and we're like, we like, and there was another girl there that joined for part of it, and we like me and him turned to each other and we started like kind of like not arguing but like debating back and forth, and I would make up points like this or that, and at the end of it, the girl came up to me, like, that was one of the O week leaders, and she's like, you had some really good points. And I was like, thanks. She's basically telling me like, hey, they're a bunch of idiots, don't listen to them. And I didn't even read the fucking book.
I have a funny OE story that's probably different than all of yours.
Oh boy.
So, you guys remember that what I graduated with was not my first major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I actually started in the major that one of the people on this call is in.
Whoa.
And what?
That
Do you mind
was
if I
me.
disclose that, Jem?
Yeah, I know it's fine. It's all good.
So, I started out as a biomedical engineer, as well as Eli and Jem.
Bit of a fucking mess, but yeah.
Wait, Eli, you were a biomed?
I started off as one. I left immediately.
Can't say I blame you. It is
Part
a
of
bit
my
hectic.
advice of when I saw when Eli on the way, literally the drive up, I was like, Eli, it's not what you think.
I can't say I blame the both of you. It is.
You're like
Bit
the
of a
fucking
mess.
you're like the fucking Mista lady from Happy Gilmore. Mister, get me out of here! And she's diving across the fucking car hood.
Basically.
Well, anyways, so my week was actually like, in retrospective, like if I was single, it would have been a much more fun week, because tech is a a male dominated school is the proper way to
I mean, 2/3 of it was
describe
male when
it.
I was there.
Yup.
yes, but there's one department
Yeah, baby.
that's different. We had roughly 20 to 25 people in our OE group. Of the people, there were exactly 5 guys. Our OE leader said, "Well, we're supposed to talk about like, hey, don't be creepy to girls, but considering that most of you are girls, you guys can basically tell the dudes that, hey, don't do that." And he said at the beginning of this, it's like, you see all these women around you guys? This isn't normal on this campus. There's a lot of dudes.
Jesus Christ.
Well, he was I still talk to him on occasion, very rarely, but he's a very cool guy. But it was funny because he was even a frat guy, and he was like, Yeah, don't expect this in any other department.
Yeah.
There was my first week. This wasn't my O group, but it was other people in my hall. It was their CSO week group, and there's this one guy that I actually lived across from my first year, and he was like following this one girl around.
Oh God.
Like,
God.
This
Oh,
guy
fuck.
thought he was hot shit. Like, he was basically as big of a fuckboy as you get, and he came from, I believe, like southern Michigan, somewhere close by Detroit, I want to say, but I don't know I don't remember. It's been a few years, but like he was sitting there telling this, or he was telling us that he had a girlfriend back home, and he was like bragging how he was basically gonna hook up with this girl, and a few months later, I had finally met up with some other people in the hall that became my friends, and I was talking with them. Yeah, well, you were one of them, but you weren't a part of this group.
Yeah, I know.
It was anyways, it was the girls' room down the hall. And one of them told me, they're like, yeah, she had no interest in him whatsoever. I was like, yeah, I got that vibe. I went into his room one time to ask him a question, and she was sitting in there with him, like, because they're both computer science majors. Like, I think she wanted homework help, or they were partners for a project or something. And she looked like she wanted to get the fuck out of there. And I didn't leave the room because I knew that, like, he was being kind of creepy.
Yeah, that's CS.
Fucking Christ. He actually is really funny because he was one of the few guys that pledged and actually got kicked out. He didn't make it all the way through, and it wasn't because of grades. The dude was apparently really smart. He got kicked out for some kind of behavior. I don't know what, but he wouldn't tell me.
Probably being sketchy as fuck towards women.
One time,
Or just being a dick. Like, if you're an absolute, like, asshole, like, during your pledge week, which is the one week you're not supposed to be an asshole, they will kick you out. Because they know it's only going to get worse when you get the frat boy attitude.
I fucking,
At least back.
I went to a party at and he was there. He was invited by somebody, and the dude sat around the entire time on his phone with his Snapchat open, trying to get girls' Snapchats. I saw him walk around the party to multiple people. I'm like, bro, you need to fucking chill. What is your problem? You're gonna like get a restraining order or some shit. Like,
Implying that would stop him.
fucking dude was odd. I have a lot of stories about that guy, but not for this episode.
Speaking of this episode, would you like to hear the third story?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yes, let's hear it.
All right, boys. So, you ever heard or seen the movie Treasure Island
No.
Yes.
I've heard of it.
or Treasure Planet?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, what
I've
do
heard
these
of it, not watched it, unfortunately.
Treasure Planet is really good. Would recommend. Now, what do both of these movies have in common?
Pirates.
Treasure.
Treasure. Sherry's correct.
Treasure.
Now,
Treasure.
you know what's really nice about Treasure? It's the.
It's valuable.
It's money.
It's valuable. It's money. It can be worth. It could be worth a lot of money. So easy money to see if you could find it, right?
People will kill each other over it.
Oh, Jonah, you have no idea.
I think I have a pretty good idea.
Now, this is not necessarily each other, but well, why don't I read you the story and then you can make that decision for yourself.
Let's go.
So the title of this one is "As Buried as the Treasure." That is from 2020, and it did win a Darwin Award, and it has been confirmed to be a true story.
So he won.
Do they get a fucking
Exactly.
plaque in the mail when they get a Darwin Award?
No.
Most of the
No,
time.
just their spouses.
Just like
So-
oh, go ahead.
On the 17th of March 2020 in Colorado, this is where it takes place, Michael Sexton, 58, read of a buried treasure in a book authored by an eccentric and controversial art dealer named Forrest Fenn. In The Thrill of the Chase, Fenn claims that he himself buried $2 million worth of gold coins and other artifacts somewhere out in the Rocky Mountains, and gives clues throughout the book, hinting at its secret location in 9 poetry verses. Temptation was great for Michael, although 350,000 others had gone looking for the buried box. No one is known to have found it. Worse, 4 men died in the effort. Now, unlike the rest of them, however, Michael knew where the treasure was buried based on his interpretation of the clues in the book. So he talked to a 65-year-old acquaintance into joining him on a treasure hunt, and their quest for quick riches began. On February of 2020, they headed to Dinosaur National Monument on the Colorado-Utah border.
That's a cool
Michael
place, by
was
the way.
so certain he knew where the treasure was that neither he nor his colleague prepared for an overnight stay in the mountains. No doubt assuming that if they started early enough, they would be home by sunset, $2 million richer. Well, Michael was wrong. They found no treasure, and they lost their bearings. Cold, hungry, and disorientated, the future looked grim for Michael and his friend. Shivering and close to death, they were fortunately found just in time by a search and rescue team who brought them down the mountain. One would think that having survived such an experience, Michael would have learned better. But he did not. 1 month later, having sufficiently recovered, he set out for a second try. Once more, he sweet-talked the 65-year-old colleague into joining him because treasure! This time would be the time they find it. The unfolding COVID-19 epidemic had prompted intermittent closures of Dinosaur National Monument, and hikers were cautioned that difficult terrain should be avoided so first responders could remain safe in quarantine. But that didn't stop Michael. On Tuesday, March 17th, he left Denver with a few candy bars, 2 bottles of water, a copy of Fenn's book, and the clothes on his back.
That's it?
God.
Fucking idiot. God
Just
damn.
outside the park, the 2 men rented snowmobiles and loaded them onto the bed of their pickup truck. The bemused rental agent watched the unprepared treasure hunters drive off towards the remote northwest boundary of the park, perhaps wondering how long the unlikely pair would last before they returned.
The dude's just sitting there fucking sipping his coffee, looking at these 2 dumbasses trip over themselves while they unload their snowmobiles.
After nightfall, the rental agent alerted the local authorities. The search began. On the morning of Friday of the 20th, they found Michael's truck. On Saturday morning, they found the abandoned snowmobiles and saw that Michael and his friend had unwisely continued on foot.
Dumbasses.
Saturday afternoon, they located the 2 men about a mile from the snowmobiles, ironically at nearly the exact spot of the previous rescue a month earlier.
We were just here. It's got to be there.
It's fate. We have to dig here.
Fucking, it's like that one SpongeBob episode where they're just like, it's right here, and they just keep on fucking digging that hole deeper.
East. I thought you said west.
That's West Patrick. You're fired again.
Michael was brought back down the mountain, but this time in a body bag. His friend barely survived and refuses to talk about their ordeal to this day. In June of 2020...
It sounds like some naked cuddling is what happened.
Well, maybe more than that, depending on the circumstances.
Oh no.
In June of 2020, the treasure was rumored to have been finally discovered, but this word came from the author Forrest Fenn himself, and he has not provided any further details as of the time of this writing. Fenn's veracity has been questioned by, among others, the FBI, and several lawsuits have since been filed against him. Some speculate that the treasure, if it exists at all, consists of artifacts illegally harvested by Fenn. Whatever the truth is, people will no doubt continue looking for the fabled treasure. If so, they had been better prepared, or else find themselves in the same sorry predicament as Michael and the treasure trove. Buried.
Fucking got him.
That's got to be like the biggest prank ever, just to like trick a bunch of people. Yeah, I buried this $2 million out there in them there woods, and now you gotta go find it. And fucking
the treasure was the friends we made along the way,
or
The treasure was
few we had
the
to bury.
and the few we had to lose, but mainly the ones we made along the way.
I actually think it's the really expensive camera that he left out there, for just kind of giving a live stream of what's happening.
Is this like that whole Shia LaBeouf thing?
Or no,
Oh,
it's the
Ken.
fucking Logan Paul thing.
Oh God.
Fucking, he's like sitting out there vlogging, day 37, me and my friend, and meanwhile Michael's in the back, fucking frozen over.
That makes me think, especially with what you said, Eli. Do you think looking for buried treasure is just like a more hardcore version of playing Minecraft, or not Minecraft, Monopoly with the boys?
I don't know about Monopoly, but
Bro,
It tests your friendships here and there a little bit, right?
we damn near
Yeah,
killed ourselves playing Monopoly.
Yeah, that was an interesting
speak for
time.
yourself. You and Sherry got competitive as hell.
I'm a very competitive person. I will.
Pretty
admit that.
competitive.
Monopoly.
I was not competitive. I was getting mad because I literally had nothing, and I just wanted to get like one thing from Jonah, and I was basically giving him offered him everything for it, and he said no. And then
You know,
I love it. I
all
love
these
it.
stories kind of almost remind me of like one time I was almost removed from the gene pool for some stupidity that somebody did. Because
Nice.
like there was a couple, but like this one's truly like the most terrifying because it was like a work thing, so I had no control over the situation at all. One of the jobs I was an intern at, and it was basically a steel foundry, and while I was working there, we were doing upgrades on our systems. Well, while we were upgrading one of our systems, the coke dust delivery system, which is, if you don't know what coke dust is, it's basically like the what remains after coal is burned. So it's still flammable and highly reactive to heat and flames. The delivery system breaks, and this coke dust is like flying at the speed that it normally would fly into the furnace at.
Oh
Luckily-
shit!
Luckily for us, the furnace was off and was being worked on, so like there was no heat anywhere near us. However, this coke dust begins to cloud the air around us, literally over the span of 2 seconds. My coworkers and I all look out to the window of our little pulpit that we do our work at, and we're like, "Oh, it's black as shit out there." The fuck? One of the coworkers goes out to investigate while wearing an N95 mask, and he comes back. The N95 mask was coated in black powder, and he was like, I wouldn't go out there if I were you guys. So we're like, okay, this is fun, because we set up some TVs in that pulpit to be able to monitor some security cams that we had set up just to monitor the process as it's happening. And one of the security cams shows a guy, a contractor he doesn't work for the company, but he was hired by the company to work there. Because we're making upgrades to this furnace, and he goes to start working on the stuff he's doing, and he's using a metal grinder, which produced sparks.
This fool.
And luckily for us, the sparks did not ignite. But as soon as he started, we heard it rev up, and we saw one spark, we all ducked underneath our desks, and one of the guys was not scared at all. He's like, if I'm gonna die watching what happens.
What
What
man.
a fucking legend!
He was in the Navy, so he just didn't give a shit.
It's that one dude from the fucking Hurt Locker, Jeremy Renner, just is fucking going into the bomb squad, and he's realizes there's 4 bombs, fucking rips off his jacket. He's like, if I'm gonna die comfortably.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna see what's happening, and the supervisor basically sprinted over as soon as they heard it revving up, and started yelling at this guy and saying that if you use this machine, you're going to kill us all.
Fucking sitting there eating popcorn while you watch this shit show.
Basically, he was eating lunch. He didn't give a shit.
the man
all
who
just
won his lunch.
We were trying to figure out how we were going to get out that day because we weren't sure if the coke dust was going to clear up in time for us to leave because they had to bring in like an external company to come vacuum the air and everything around us to get rid of it. It was coating literally everything.
Oh.
Eli, I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised no one. Hey, what's this black shit, bro? Here, here's a big light. Let's check this out and see what would have happened.
Yeah, I walked out after like everything had settled, and like I walked around for a little bit. My boots were coated in the stuff, and like the uniform I was wearing was coated. Like everything I touched, my hands just turned black. I was like, I can't do this right now, guys.
Jeez.
That job is full of stories of things that could have killed me but didn't.
So you'd work
I'm
there
a
again,
dirty
right?
boy.
Honestly,
Was
8 out
that
of
the
10.
place where the HR
8 out of 10?
got
What the
fired?
fuck?
No, the HR people did not get all fired there. That was at the other company I co-opted with.
Okay.
Yeah, that could have been my first co-op, but their HR people got fired right before they wanted to give me an offer,
What?
and then they gave it a month late, and I already
Yeah.
accepted another job.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wait a minute. You said 8 out of 10? Why 8 out of 10? Not enough, was the lethal edging not lethal enough?
8 out of 10 because the work I did there was really fun and entertaining. The danger factor is what brings it back down to an 8.
Aw, boo-hoo. Live a little.
But like honestly, if I had to work in a steel foundry again, I might want to work in one that's a little more safe than that because that one was literally like some of the sketchiest shit I've ever seen.
Hey kids, you want to go up in flames, see what fucking happens? We
I'm a-
take a nice bottle of water,
Lively.
and chuck it into this burning plasma furnace?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you right now, anybody who's crazy enough to work in a steel foundry, it's just never going to be safe. Those are basically like the fucking race car drivers of the engineering world.
That's true. Honestly, like the people that work at that company move so quickly. Like they are basically running everywhere they go because like their engineers basically are the ones that are actually going out and fixing everything that goes wrong. So like if a piece of a machine goes down, it's the engineers that are going out and fixing it. If it's like something that requires technical expertise, or if something's going wrong, the engineers have to supervise like the electricians or the welders or anything else that's going on out there to make sure stuff's getting done right or done to the right specifications that need to be done to. Like they use and abuse their engineers, but like it's a very fast-paced job that I wouldn't mind having again, honestly. Not that I like hate my company now, like I really still like my company, so like
Fair.
it's just a whole nother thing.
I'm still trying to like process the whole thing of just someone going, "Sir, why do you work in this place if it's so lethal?" I mean, it keeps me awake somehow, right, boys?
It's
Dude,
fun.
Dude, there are people there that work like 40 hours straight, like
Holy shit!
nonstop. And I was like,
Yeah.
how did you do that? He's like, I don't know, I was just doing my job, and then eventually I realized it was 40 hours, and HR told me to go home.
That's what it was like working at the restaurant. There were people there pulling 60, 80-hour shifts a week for a month. Like, it was nuts. When, like, right after the pandemic hit and people were just, like, short-staffed and, like, I knew people that were working themselves to death, including myself. Like, it was crazy the amount to which people were overworked during that time in the restaurant industry.
Bro, you were your face was so sunken in during that
Yeah,
time.
you were done.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, well, I would wake up at like 7 a.m. to go to school, and then I would be working until midnight. And then on top of it, there was a bunch of other things that were stressing me out in personal life. So
I really enjoyed your justification as to why you were going through all this, though, because your response was always just because money.
Bro, I was rolling.
That was it. It was great.
Like, Sherry saw my desk. What did you think of that when you grabbed Sherry had to borrow money from me at one point, and
Right.
I was a bartender, so I was making tips, and this was before I went to the bank with it all. And it was dumb, I might add, but it was just one of those things where, like, I never had cash like this before, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so Sherry's like,
So
oh, wait, let me finish.
so
Yeah.
no, I want to clarify. I was not asking for money.
Yeah.
I was asking for change.
Right. Sherry came to me. He's like, "Hey, can I get some change from somebody in the house?" I was like, "Yeah, go up into my room, grab whatever you need out of the fucking desk." And Sherry walks up to my desk and opens it. And Sherry, what do you see?
So I was in shock because I go up and I'm like, I swear if Jonah just has like another, because I was at like asking for like a couple 5s and a 10 for change for a 20 because that's all I could like, pull out of the ATM. And I'm like, I swear to God, if Jonah just has like all 20s in here, I'm going to be kind of pissed. And I open the drawer and I'm just seeing like, God damn it, Jonah. I could steal a lot of this and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, no, I counted it all. I made sure of how much money I had. That was one thing I kept track of. Because anyone could have walked into that house and taken it, so I was careful with it.
Well, that did happen, especially during a house party.
Yeah,
Well, house parties.
Our
I
last
suppose.
year we had to deal with a freaking klepto, I swear.
Oh yeah, that fucking idiot.
I went through some situations where one house party someone went into my room where all of my important and valuable items were on my desk, and instead of going through all of them, including my wallet, my passports, my computer, you name it, he took 4 cookies and left.
Fucking
So pissed about
bastard.
that from a fucking principle standpoint. But the worst thing that happened was someone lost a bottle of Kraken.
Oh yeah.
I still believe that he did that to himself. He left a handle out at a house party full of very, very drunk people. And it's like, of all things, some people could have just thought it was to pass around, and when someone found out it was his, they're not going to tell.
I'm
Yeah,
still curious to this day who did that.
So
Because it made him so mad in the moment.
just out of curiosity, what is Kraken? Is it just like a very
It's a rum. It's
Okay.
a very dark and expensive rum.
Oh, I've seen it. Never mind. Yeah, I know what you're
It's
talking
pretty
about.
good.
Spiced rum.
Yes.
So, I'll censor the name just out of curiosity. Who was it? Do I know the person?
Claw.
Oh, okay, sure.
You can ask him if you want to rile him up.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I give him shit all the time. I can ask him about it.
I don't know if he'll still be riled up about it, but I'm willing to bet he might be.
He probably would be.
He might be moved on, in air quotes, but he might still be in the grieving process.
Well, like, how do I say? He likes to be a little, like, eccentric when it comes to things, which is, like, just when he's relaying a story, he'll be like, oh, yeah, that fucking bullshit, and he'll go off about it, but, like, he's over it.
Yes.
Yeah. And, like,
But
I'm the
then
same way,
sometimes-
so.
Well, but then there are some times with him. It's quite amazing. Like, you scratch the wrong scab on him, and he is actually mad.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. He'll probably be on an episode eventually, which will be very entertaining, to say the least.
Let him just go off, just full crazy.
Can we just call it An Hour with Claw or something like that? And just
Maybe.
Claw shouts into the void for an hour and a half.
Old man shouts at clouds.
There you go.
Hey, that's me.
I've actually done that while I was still at Tech, by the way. I have done that.
I believe
done
that. I 100% believe that because I lived with you for a fucking year and I've heard you yell in your room. I can believe you yelled at those fucking clouds.
Would you like to know what happened?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
I was doing Calc 2 or 3 homework.
I'm
No,
so
it was Calc
sorry.
2 homework. I was trying to solve a problem. I wasn't able to solve the problem because the fucking software we were using was being stupid.
Wait, was
not
it
helpful.
Was it Wolframe Mathematica or whatever?
No, it was
Oh.
WebAssign.
Ooh, even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, when it worked, it was great. But when it didn't work, it was frustrating as all hell. So what I ended up doing was, because this homework it needed to be completed, I got up early to work on it, but I wasn't getting anywhere. After that, I had a surprise phone conversation with my parents, which was alright, and at the time they were like, hey, you should really push yourself, do this, do that, do this, do that, which at the time still, recovering from my year and a half of whatever the fuck you want to call it, I was simply adamant on saying no. And to quote, one of the lines I used was, Mom, I busted my ass to get in here. I don't want to bust my ass to get out.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening after that phone conversation, I think it was like 8 or 9, I was just done. So I simply put on my coat, walked out of my dorms, took a sharp 9-degree right-hand turn, walked down the road, away from everyone, went into the woods, sat down on the rock, looked at the sky, and just started screaming.
Fair. I respect it.
Very
Oh.
nice.
You see what I did? I was like, I always had a car up in Houghton, and I'd be like, well, this has been a rough day. It's like, and like some of the people who are like going to the exam are, it's like, you want to go to Kafer or something after this? No, I'm gonna go in my car. It's like, what for? Are you gonna go grab something? No.
I'm gonna cry.
I said, I get my car, warm it up, and then I'm like, and knowing I'm gonna lose my good parking spot, I drive away, and I drive around the Keweenaw in the pitch black for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and eventually make my way back, and just completely emotionally defeated.
Sherry, I feel that on an emotional level, dude.
I remember.
But there's something about like accidentally making it to Copper Harbor at midnight and having a quarter tank of gas left, and I'm like, oh boy.
Adventure time in the middle of fucking nowhere. Let's go.
Was that in the middle of winter?
No, I usually don't go. Usually take. It usually happen. Well, most of my depressive episodes were fall semesters.
Okay.
Just because. Well, and it's the easiest to drive because the thing that would usually stop me is me having to shovel out my car.
Understandable. That's
Mother
also
Nature
very,
saying "fuck you" to your depression.
Yeah, or just going to the library and putting my head down because I didn't want to go back to the dorms.
I would scream into my pillow a lot of times when something there were many times where I'll be like, I'll be right back, and I wouldn't tell anybody. I'd go into my room and like bury my face into my pillow and scream as loud as I could.
So, did you really study engineering if you don't have a manic state?
Oh my god, everyone in our house is manic at one point or another.
Probably.
Mine was from senior design, definitely.
Pippin's was probably
Eli,
from senior design.
I was too tired to be manic from senior design.
I missed Sherry's manic episode, but I know it did happen.
Not necessarily manic.
It
for
wasn't
mine.
manic. It was, well, Sherry, do you want to talk about it or no? I think that's a better starting point.
I don't really care. I don't really know which episode because as I've gotten a few months beyond that, everything is simply a blur. There's a few things I do remember from the
year before
working...
I came into the house.
Oh, that.
Yeah. If you don't want us to talk about it, we can simply just skip over it. It's up to you.
Yeah.
I would rather us not talk about right now.
That is understandable. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah. So Pippin, your manic state.
I don't think I actually had like a real manic issue. I just had stress.
Well, yeah, that's basically what it was for all of us. It was just very high levels of stress. We're just calling it manic for attention and views.
The memes, as the kids call it.
I mean, seeing as I was one of very few people on my design team who actually did work, and I would argue that I probably did the majority of the work.
Bro, you were in there every single night. You asked me to help you because other people wouldn't help you.
I was also the only one with the most time on my hands, seeing as I was only taking 12 credits.
But we never saw you regardless. Like, I never saw you at the house the last semester. Like,
most of the time it was just because I was in my room trying not to, do anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
I saw Pippin a lot because I would get home at 9 o'clock and he would go out and he would actually like step out and maybe like grab something from the kitchen at 9 o'clock. So I saw Pippin a lot.
He was trying to dissociate.
Yeah, I don't even know. The last semester was a rough one for me, particularly because that was the first time I had decided not to take two of my finals effectively. I took one of my finals in 15 minutes and guessed on literally the entire final. And I had to have the professor for that class for a couple other classes, and he had seen me working with senior design stuff like all the time. And I caught him on my way out of that final, and he was like, hey, are you sure you want to stop right here? I mean, I know you've been doing a ton of work, so what I'll do is I'll let you go home, take a nap, come back in like a half hour to an hour, and you can retake the final. I'm like, I appreciate that. I really do. But I'm fucking done. Because this was the last day of finals week at 8 a.m.
I remember you telling me that when you got home, because like I
Yeah.
was like leaving when you got home, and I was like, "How did it go?" And you're like,
I mean,
felt
I still
euphoric
managed to get a 68% on that final.
somehow.
"That's better
Oh.
than a lot of exams that I've had." I'll say
Yeah,
that.
and then the other final I ended up not taking was for my psychology class, which was a big final paper. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that paper.
I was looking at my grade in the class, and I had like a 92% at that
Oh,
point.
screw him.
And I wrote like a little bit just to give like a framework, and then I turned it in, and that was it. I was like, you know what? I'm
Now,
not dealing with this right now.
what class was that?
That was for my psych class. I think it was human factors psychology. It
Okay.
was the first time that class had been offered in like 3 years.
Oh, damn. So then it wasn't. So I took psychology, and I'm gonna censor this name, but I took psychology with Kay Tislar. Did she teach
I
that
had
that
class?
too.
No.
Okay.
No.
She was awful.
She
I
She
had
was
her-
really bad.
she does
I
not
had
know
her
how to
for-
operate PowerPoint. Like,
Oh no. So what I had her for a class called Psychology of Death and Dying.
mhm.
It was a really interesting class in and of itself, but we did absolutely no real work. Um, the lecture periods consisted of her talking at us
Yep.
and us not paying attention.
Well, the funniest
And-
thing is I turned in the final paper for that class, worst paper I've probably ever written, and within like half a day, I got a grade back, and it was like damn near 100%. And I was like, "You didn't even read this fucking thing."
No, not in the slightest. But yeah, there were a couple really, really good professors in that department. I mean, for those who don't know, I have a minor in psychology, simply because the classes I took mesh fairly well with engineering. But I mean, there were some really, really good professors in that, and they were severely understaffed. I think there were only about 6 actual lecturers for the whole department. One of them was the head of the department. So like, yeah, they were severely understaffed.
Well,
Great
like,
people.
they just let people go that last year, like, and
Well,
even before that.
It was before that. It was,
Yeah.
right as good old new president came in, he let like half the university staff go.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I just remember
We are,
because
as a note to our viewers, we are talking about Richard Kubek,
Fuck.
our university president. You better not censor his name out. I don't care if I talk shit about him.
I know
It's
you
public
did.
information.
It is.
People can Google who the
Yeah.
president of the university is.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to censor his name out because I don't care that. Like, you remember this. I'm not going to tell that story.
Not yet, anyways.
No, that one's a little. Well, it's the one in the ice arena that I always joke about, but I never like it's not serious at all. Do you guys remember that?
Shh.
I remember one of
Just
our
need a
old
little
housemates
push.
constantly trying to scar the upper management of the university and doing a
Well,
damn
that
good
was the
job of
dean.
it.
That was the dean. He was
Yeah,
trying
that
to
was-
scar.
And the
That was
dean is a
also
nice
Kubek.
guy. No,
That was
oh,
also Kubek a little bit too, because
Oh,
Kubek
really?
was there as
Yeah,
well.
that was a phenomenal moment for graduation.
Oh my god, yeah.
For the audience, one of our mutual friends, I guess to say,
Old housemate.
Yeah, what was it? He took a bite out of a piece of paper during one of the hockey games at a meetup, like afterwards, right in front of the dean of students. As
It was a
joke.
bite of a plate.
It was a paper plate, though, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
it
just
was a paper plate.
And just started eating it in front of him.
And the dean was like, "Oh my god!"
And then there was the one where
What a
he
Chad.
started chewing through the plastic cutlery and had like blood coming out of his mouth.
Jesus
And-
Christ.
I
kinda-
think that one.
It was kind of. He knew what he was doing, but like at the same time, he commits to bits a little too hard sometimes.
Yeah, I think
He
the
bleeds
last,
for the cause.
the last one I
Literally.
remember was him going into the what is it, the press box? It's not the press box, but where they have all the food after the hockey.
president's-
President's
Yeah.
Lounge, yeah,
Yeah,
the suites.
President's Lounge, and going and grabbing a bunch of whatever food was there. I can't remember what it was now. With his hands, it was like some sort of pasta dish, I think. It was like a wet pasta dish. Grabbing a bunch with his hands and stuffing it into the front pocket of
Oh,
the
yeah.
clothing he was wearing.
I think it was
I'm
like
like-
Sloppy Joe or something like that.
Yeah,
It was a mess. It was a big fucking mess.
Yeah, and we're like, dude, what the fuck?
For
Why?
frame of reference, the people in the pep band at Tech have these school-colored overalls that are stripes, and on the front of these overalls, they have a big pocket. So he was just fucking taking his big-ass hands and just scooping it out and fucking putting it in the front pocket in front of all of the higher-ups at the school.
Assert dominance.
Yeah.
think
And then
he said his
at
goal-
graduation, his coup de grace or whatever the fuck, basically his final
His
hurrah.
magnum opus.
Magnum
his
opus.
thesis.
He's been talking about it for so long, and he committed to it. He goes on stage, walks across the stage, shakes hands with Richard Kovac, takes his diploma holder, and then proceeds to take a bite out of it. At least tries to. He bites real hard down onto it, and apparently Kovac was like, "You know, we can get you another one if that one doesn't work for you."
Fucking Christ.
I think he said his goal was to make the upper management go, "What the fuck? How did this guy graduate?"
I'm sure it worked.
It definitely worked.
I
think some of us ask that question sometimes.
He worked very hard that last
No, yeah,
semester
he
to
did.
stay above water.
He is the epitome of uncontrolled chaos.
Yeah.
I'm at least controlled chaos.
depend on the substances involved.
Dependent on the substance abuse.
I don't need this right now.
I'm just fucking with you, man.
No, I know.
All right. Well,
Well then, I suppose it's time to do a bit of a quick closing call. So, in case you are wondering more about these stories, we will provide the links in the description box below. You can also drop by the Darwin Awards website, which will also be provided in the description box below, to see if you can find some other funny stories. They have quite the catalog of stories, starting from 1993. Some are even older, and if you're lucky, you might be able to snatch yourself a small pocket-sized book with 100 funny Darwin Award stories. That was my first exposure. Thanks, Mom. I appreciated it.
Nice.
Well, dear audiences, members, it's been so nice to have you here. I have been your host, Jem. We were together with Eli, Jonah, Pippin, and Sherry. I hope to see you sometime next week. Enjoy your time.
You're in
Adios.
rehab.
bitches.
Arrivederci.
All right, the recording